All right, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the daily broadcast coming to you from the Arctic Air Studios. Arctic Air, call the bear if your air is too Arctic tonight. Maybe your heater is not going to make it through next year, but we need to be focusing on those air conditioners right now so they can get you taken care of. Go to callthebear.com, see what they've got to do for you to help you out. Veteran owned and operated here in Lubbock, Texas. Also brought to you tonight by the Reserve Culinary Tavern. You like brunch? They got a great one Saturday and Sunday. You like watching Texas Tech games with the sound on when they can do it? Yeah, they do that. It's not a sports bar. No, it's a great eclectic menu. Eclectic, that's good, right? Fantastic cocktails. It's waiting for you. The Reserve, 103rd and Quaker. Of course, all the communications tonight coming to you from United Supermarkets, Market Street. Great supporters of Texas Tech. There's a grocery store in Lubbock in West Texas that supports Tech. There's another one that sends all your money down to Austin. You make the call. And if you like the shirts, if you like what we wear, Boot City, Cody Woods, one money saving mile outside the West Loop on 19th Street. There you go, man. Go get your Western wear, get it on, and get ready because all the spring and summer clothes are coming in right now. Let a few more folks get in. You guys know what to do. The early arrivals here on the daily broadcast. Let us know the audio is good, the video is good. Give us thumbs up. Just hit us in the comment section. Hey, we're ready to roll. Let us know where you're watching from. Let us know where you're taking in the show. Even if you ain't got nothing to comment on tonight, you can always do that. Again, thanks to United Supermarkets and Market Street, opening up all the connection lines. Whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Twitter, you guys can get a hold of us tonight. All right, we got Tech baseball to look at. We have beyond that Tuesday's best. We give you two things to choose from. Tuesday's best. One thing today, and it's the coolest thing you've ever done or experienced in nature. See, I don't count the eclipse as something like that because it happens. Yeah, every now and then the moon lines up in between Earth and Sun, and it blocks it out for about 2 or 3 minutes in some places, and we go, okay, we're not pagan sun worshipers. We didn't sacrifice people yesterday, unless you were in Muleshoe, and maybe that took place in Muleshoe. But I'm thinking about some other things. I wrote about it, theraiderland.com today. I'll tell you one of my favorite stories about coolest things we've seen in nature. Now we have that, and then the topic we can't talk about. Did a commentary, 60 Seconds of Raiderland, this morning. It got absolutely shadow banned. And I have to be very careful, otherwise they'll shadow ban this broadcast. But I want you to go to the website, theraiderland.com. You can watch the commentary, listen to it. We'll discuss it tonight. It has to do with the NAIA, the group that used to govern LCU, Lubbock Christian Sports, issuing pretty much a ban on transgenders participating in women's college sports. The usual suspects were upset. I ask a few questions. We'll talk about it tonight with you, but I can't put it in the headline. If I put it in the headline, they'll crucify us. We get nothing. I know what the numbers should look like. I know when we get shadow banned and when we don't. No, I've not been put in Facebook jail. Not yet. Michael, United, Market Street, Albertsons, Market, and Amigos. That's a lot of grocery store stuff there going on. All right, let's get it done in 3, 2. Good evening, West Texans, all you good, fine, friendly folks out there who wish you were. I'm Ryan Hyatt, theraiderland.com. You start your day there every day. Be sure and go check out the hot links every morning. We serve them up fresh every day for you. Cool stuff we found on the internet. We think you will like it. And you can always send some stuff our way and say, hey, folks in Raiderland, look what I found. I think you'll like it. We dig that. I think you guys know what we're doing on that. I appreciate everybody going there. And then every day, we give you a cool question or something to weigh in on. Tomorrow, by the way, it's overrated, underrated, rated right, Wednesday. So today, Tuesday's best, throw out the eclipse, the coolest things you've seen in nature, the coolest things you've seen in the great outdoors, experienced or otherwise, sights, sounds, whatever it may be. Those of you who read the column today, you know what I'm going to talk about on that. And then Tech baseball, what do they need to do to make the NCAA tournament from here? It's really simple. It's the same thing as it is every year. You got to win some games. But not only do you have to win some games, you've got to win some quality games. Wayland Baptist says Chris is still in the NAIA. Yes, they are. Old Faithful, never seen it, never been out there to the Yosemite, all that cool stuff. I would like to go at some point. It's not like going, to Spain. I think we can get there in a car. I mean, pretty much if I can't get there in a truck anymore, I really don't want to do it. Travel abroad doesn't do anything for me. Hey, let's go to d1baseball.com. Let's look at the RPI for today. And Texas Tech not playing tonight. For those wondering, you're thinking maybe we got a Tuesday midweek there at ACU. I haven't even changed it on my calendar. No, it's tomorrow because of the weather, and they were right. Good call. For once, I want to applaud Tech and ACU for getting ahead of the schedule. For once, they hardly ever do this. And they moved it to tomorrow so they can play baseball. Texas Tech is 40 in the RPI. Down 1 from yesterday, still up 17 over the last week, 18 obviously yesterday. Pretty good. You're not in the tournament, in my opinion, but the good news is you still got a lot of teams you can beat that are ahead of you in the RPI, and that's TCU right now. That is, you get ready to, you got to beat ACU, okay? We understand that. And that's not going to do anything for your RPI beating ACU. It just doesn't hurt you. So TCU's at 38. I mean, you're right there. You're the same team, but you're going to benefit from a few things. And we look at TCU right now, and let's see if I can bump. How do I get to go to bump this up? There we go. So TCU right now, their RPI at 38, strength of schedule 68. They've dropped 12 spots. They've been falling like a rock in Big 12 play. It's just not been good for them. They had the 15-1 non-conference RPI, very similar to Tech. I think it was 16-2 for Texas Tech. They've only got one loss outside the top 100. That includes the 200. But they just hadn't scored much in the red zone against quality teams. 1-3 through the top 25, 2-2, 26 through 50. Hey, look at Texas Tech. Boy, and here's the gap. It's killing Tech right now on the schedule. 2-4 against top 25 RPI teams. 0-0, 26-50. You just hadn't had a lot of chances yet. That's why I keep saying you got to get the quality wins in Big 12 play. 5-2 after that. 7-3 and the basically 101 to 200. 10-0, 200 plus. So you got 10 wins against 200 plus teams. You have 18 wins on the year. 24 wins on the year. 10 of those against teams 200 plus. I'm going to try to find teams that have 10 or more wins. They're ahead of you in the RPI in that category. South Carolina is 10-0. They're 22-10 on the year. 19 RPI. That's it. Your non-conference killed you, man. Or is killing you right now if you're Texas Tech. So you have to make all of that up in Big 12 play. Chris, helmet sticker on a Tuesday, and we'll allow it till all the rain we're getting. Fantastic. Around my parts, we're about maybe 0.6 to 0.7 of an inch so far. A lot of places getting a lot more. We're never going to say anything bad about it. It's been beautiful. It's been slow, soaking in cotton showers today. The wind hasn't been violent for the most part where we are. This is $1 million rain, as they used to call it, and they still do around the South Plains. So 100% of helmet stickers. And had to Terry County and the county commissioners in Terry County, Texas. They've done some work on our roads around here, our dirt roads, and they were really holding up good today. Good job, guys. Gary, a black wolf crossing the road at Yellowstone while we were stopped. Talking about coolest things you've seen in nature, which is there, and you can sound off on the website, theraiderland.com. If you're watching on Twitter, we want to hear from you. Facebook Live, we want to hear from you. If you're on YouTube, we want to hear from you. Even if you're just watching, even if you're just taking in the show tonight, and you don't have anything to say, it's always cool to just see, somebody's name pop up and say, "Hey, I'm watching." You don't have to do anything. We'll get into the topic that can't be discussed here in a little bit as we go through. Don't worry. And don't tell anybody we discussed it. And certainly don't go watch my commentary at theraiderland.com on the topic that cannot be discussed. I don't want you to do that at all. And whatever you do, don't share it on Twitter or Facebook or anything else. Do not share that commentary today that I did on the topic that cannot be discussed. Yeah, Molly Goodnight's buffaloes. They're in Caprock Canyons. Those are real buffalo. Yeah. Jared, if I drop the goldfish snack in a puddle outside and get my fishing pole, do I need a fishing license? In New Mexico, yes, you actually do because you're an out of state resident and they will pop you and they'll take great pleasure in doing that. 100%. So if you're in Texas as a freeborn citizen of the state of Texas, I think you're probably okay. More or less okay on that. I have not seen, and maybe they have released who is pitching tomorrow for Texas Tech. I got to be real careful on what I click on here. We'll go here and we'll go there. And do we have that yet? No, we don't. Don't have the release yet. And maybe it's out there. I just hadn't seen it, but doesn't really matter. You're going to string together about 5 or 6 pitchers probably tomorrow. You don't want to stress out the bullpen too much, and here's why. Because guys that you might want to use Friday, Saturday, now that you're compressing this again, and Tech has dealt with this for really the last month, it feels like, of compressed weekends on the Thursday, Saturday Big 12 series in the midweek. You're not getting the normal amount of rest, and it compromises what you can do midweek on relievers because they lose a day, and you're losing a day this week on the other end, going on Wednesday, and then starting on Friday. You have to change how you handle your relievers now tomorrow on what you would do if it's a close game. Now, the best thing to do would just be to bash the hell out of the ball and go in this thing 18-9 or whatever it ends up being. But it does change the way Matt Gardner and Tim Tadlock have to think about how you're going to utilize the pen tomorrow. Let's see. Sad news out of the Abilene Zoo, says Jared. 2-year-old baby giraffe died of natural causes. I did not know that. That is a bummer. I grew up in Amarillo. We had a zoo. We had a watch one year. One of the elephants. They had elephants there, and it got a infection in its trunk. Like something froze up in there and it was bad and it was everything. And this was on the news. I'm not making this stuff up. This you can look it up. Probably find it in the early mid 70s, and it was like every day on the news. This baby elephant dying from some sort of trunkitis. I don't know if it made it or not, but yeah. Gary Baylor, faithful in Waco, worried about possible Drew departure to Kentucky. Gary, would Tech faithful in Lubbock be worried about a possible McCaslin departure to Waco? We haven't talked about that yet. There's been some people throwing that around and different stuff. I don't know that I necessarily buy it. If Kentucky hires Drew, that if that's who they ran off to get, if they run off, and they did run off Calipari. I mean, he did the Spike Dykes deal. Hey, when they're trying to run you out of town, make it look like you're leading a parade. And he did it to Arkansas. But if they really get rid of a guy like Calipari to go after what I think was a one-hit wonder in Drew, okay, sign me up. Because there's been a steady erosion in the NIL era, short as it may be for Baylor. There's been an erosion of brain trust, McCaslin, Tang, to different places, that if they really go after Drew, that would be fascinating. We're going to find out how much, what kind of money Kentucky has if they can't get Nate Oates, if they can't get certain coaches. That really, Drew? So I think Tang is more likely to go to Waco, maybe. Let's see. David, they'll put anything on the news. Well, that's true. It was really sad. It was really scary. We prayed for the elephant at school. It's dark times there in Amarillo. David Collier, everybody. KMAC 28 sports director. You see him in color on the stations that you can get it. Unlike so. Jared, did you hear Kingsburg in the mix for the Kentucky basketball job? He's always the next head coach, right? Kingsburg? Help me out on Kingsburg. Work with me here. Kingsburg. Mark Pope to Kentucky might be more realistic. Now, why can't they get Nate Oates? You know, Kingsbury says. I was thinking that's where you were going, but and he's really not the next head coach most places. That's why he's not a head coach. Probably won't be for a while. What the hell is that? Like a gnat or something flew in my mouth. If Kentucky wants Nate Oates and the $18 million buyout, and they're really Kentucky and they've got a big old swinging you know what, they'll get him, right? Unless maybe some college coaches now are looking at Kentucky and going, I don't have to be at Kentucky as long as I've got NIL, as long as I've got the ability, decent whatever, then I don't have to go there anymore. This is why I've said NIL, transfer portal, big for schools like Texas Tech. It levels the playing field. Everybody's got money. Now you can spend it. Tech's always had money. You just spent it poorly when you came to buying players like, Chris Pryor back in 1985 out of Converse Judson, and he doesn't even come to Tech. And you bought him groceries and a pair of boots, and he didn't even come here. You get on probation for that because everybody in the Southwest Conference was on probation in the late 80s. So Tech had to get on probation, and you didn't even get the damn player. There's plenty of money out there. In the words of, Doc Holliday in Tombstone, now it's legal. So if you're Nate Oates, why do you have to leave? If you're Kentucky, what do you offer? And I know this is going to sound crazy, but what do you offer in 2024? Because nothing else matters what happened before that other places can't offer. Facilities? Yeah, big arena. Money? People got money. What's the difference now? You don't have to go there. You don't have to be at a school like that to achieve. It helps, probably. But if that's really all there was to it, wouldn't Notre Dame win every football national championship? That's what it was all about. I think we've gone long enough. Maybe the censors are not paying attention to the topic we can't discuss. We did a commentary today that 100% got shadow banned, and we're going to broach it here in a second. Do we want to do my coolest thing we've seen in nature, or do you want to get the shadow ban topic? I don't know. You can read about what I wrote, the coolest thing I've ever seen in nature, not an eclipse. The rain was better today than an eclipse, I'll tell you that. So if you're watching on Twitter or Facebook, YouTube, you want to get in, comment, thanks to United Supermarkets, Market Street. Look for their ad specials every weekend. Save you a lot of money. Do the Kentucky Boosters intimidate the next coach? Do the Kentucky Boosters believe they are still a blue blood? Have they been humbled? No. Yes. No. Answers to your question. In as much as if any blue blood still exists, they think they are. But again, call me up the last time they won a title. So what do we want to do? Do we want to do the topic that can't be discussed, or do you want to do the coolest thing I've seen in nature? And you guys can give us those. It's anything other than the eclipse. The coolest things you've seen outdoors, being outdoors. And I've seen I've seen a lot of cool different things over the years, being out around mountains and different things. There's almost nothing cooler, by the way, than being on a West Texas stock pond down there outside of, say, Post in that area, not on Kirkpatrick's land. It was not on Kirkpatrick's land. And the witching hour, that 30 minutes between the time the sun goes down, but it's not quite down, and it's in the summer, and those bass start boiling up, and you're working a hula popper on a weed line. You're just sitting there flipping that thing in there, plopping it down. There's an art to it, a little bit, hit something, make it fall down. That hula popper, that skirt just kind of blooms out, and then that bass just boils up. And you do that during the witching hour. It is dead calm, by the way. The wind's been blowing, but all of a sudden the wind stopped. There's no sound almost. You can hear the cattle at the end of the stock pond, maybe over there taking a poop or whatever. But beyond that, there's no sound until you hear that boil of the bass come up underneath that hula popper and inhale it. Bam! That's pretty cool. I didn't write about that today. That's one of the cooler things in nature that we've experienced. The other side of that in fishing, trout fishing, on the Rio Costilla in northern New Mexico. You can find it, you can go there. Rio Grande cutthroat, about 6 to 8 inches long. You work through the small waters of the Rio Costilla. You're flipping, you're wearing hip waders, whatever. You're not, out there in the middle of it. And the flow is such that you really can't see your fly, that you're going on feel, you're going on anticipation. And as it moves over some piece of water, that you just innately feel, you believe that if there's going to be a strike, it's going to be right there. And you're mid-in your line, you're working it, you're working it, you're working it. And at the same time, before the strike happens, you think, I think it's going to happen. And you start to pull and you set that hook and you got a fish. You can't see it, you can't feel it. When I say feel it, you can't feel it on the line. You just feel it that's going to, when you catch a fish that way, that's pretty badass. And it's the coolest 6-inch, 8-inch fish you're going to catch ever in your life. That's not what I wrote about today, though. What's the coolest things you've ever seen in nature? All right, let's see if we've outlasted the censors. So yesterday, and we did the commentary today, theraiderland.com, that the NAIA did what the NCAA can't and won't do. The NAIA yesterday issued a basic ban of transgender athletes participating in women's college sports over the sports they oversee, which is about 23 different sports, I think, mostly small colleges, as we know. They used to govern LCU before they went to NCAA play. So a lot of people around Lubbock and West Texas are familiar with the NAIA. It was a common sense move. It was well thought out. It was well articulated. And of course, it was met with the opposition and the umbrage of the exact usual suspects that you would think of today, sadly, including the NCAA. This is the worst thing ever. It's the most common sense thing ever. Now, how can the NAIA do this and the NCAA can and won't? Yeah, I believe Wayland is still NAIA. I believe that is correct. How can they do that? Well, apparently they're not infected by the politics versus common sense and just knowing that this is a bad thing for women's sports. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit. I've been a part of women's college athletics since the late 80s. I had a front row privileged seat calling Lady Raider basketball, Texas Tech volleyball, and other things to be involved in women's college sports at a time where it was still just barely 10 years beyond Title IX, that we were seeing the impact and the effects of that. And Title IX is a different deal that we can talk about another time that's been bastardized. But I got to see people like Janine McHaney, Marcia Sharp, other people that worked so hard for the rights of women's sports, women, females, girls, and how hard they worked for that. And yet I see today so many coaches like Don Staley or other, what you would think would be proponents of women's sports saying, oh, no, yeah, just let the dudes play because they're more wedded to a political philosophy than common sense or even women's athletics. Where are the feminists today standing up for women's sports, standing up for women? Well, we find out that for many of them, it's more important to be a part of a liberal orthodoxy than it is to actually belong to what Title IX meant, what Title IX did, and what women's sports is all about. Women. In NASCAR, we have a term we use. It's called run what you brung. I think you guys understand that and how I'm applying it here. It's just basic common sense. So how can the NAI do that? Well, because they're smart and they're not given over to it. But the NCAA, they can't and they won't. They've been hijacked and taken over at the university levels on so many platforms that they can't dare say, hey, you know, if you're a dude, you can't play women's sports. And then it's sad that someone like Don Staley, who has played and coached in an era that has seen great advances in women's college basketball, but beyond that, knows in her heart, in her head, that the differences are such that it's insanity to say that that's a good idea. About 20 to 25 years ago, women's college basketball teams began utilizing male practice players. College students like at Tech college students that had played high school basketball that were 5'10" to about 6'3". Good basketball players. Really good basketball players. The reason they did that, they wanted to work out against, wait for it, players who were better. Why were they better? Why were they bigger? Why were they stronger? They were men. All the colleges did it. Tennessee, Pat Summitt, one of the first ones to do it. Don Staley's utilized it, I know for a fact. They all have. Now, why would they do that? Well, because the male between 18 and 22, bigger, stronger, more physical. Better basketball player? Let's throw that out right now. Let's throw that out for discussion and say, no, it doesn't matter because the two sports are different. Men's basketball and women's basketball are two different sports. Think on that for a minute. So we utilize the male practice players. Why? Because they're bigger, stronger, and they get better playing against them. Pretty simple equation, right? Pretty simple to understand that. Yet we come back now and say that any of those male players, that if they just decided, hey, I'm not a dude today, I'm a chick, and I want to play, that Don Staley says, well, then they should play. The NCAA issued a statement yesterday after the NAIA issued their ruling about banning transgender players from almost all of their competitions on the women's side. And go read the stories yourselves. I'm not going to get into that. It takes too long. That what they are committed to doing is ensuring fair competition. Really? I think we've lost sight of what exactly fair is, haven't we? Fair to whom? Fair? That makes no sense. So here I sit in 2024, and suddenly I'm the feminist. Suddenly I am the defender, and I've always been a proponent of women's college athletics and otherwise, but suddenly I'm the feminist. I'm the radical feminist standing up for women. That an old dude in West Texas is more pro-women's sports than many of the people involved in women's athletics today. Again, because they've been given over to an orthodoxy of politics versus reality and reason and common sense. I can't speak for people that are past, but I again know how hard that many of those women worked to ensure opportunity for women. Women, girls, female athletes. And to see it bastardized today, all I can think is that a lot of the people involved in college athletics on the women's side right now that are in favor of trans athletes playing, they either have lost sight of the sacrifices made, they are unaware of it, or they just don't care what the people did before them to get them to this point, to get them to the point where you can have 18.7 million people watching with Caitlin Clark taking on South Carolina, to get them to the point where athletics has, and opportunities have grown for women, that they don't care. That's all I can imagine. But I'm amazed that I wake up one day and I'm the one defending women's sports. I'm the one, some dude in West Texas wearing a pearl snap shirt, standing up for women's sports as opposed to the people involved. I think they're incredibly short sighted. And in fact, I think they're ignorant and stupid and wrong. But do not share my commentary today. Do not put it out there from theraiderland.com. We've been ratioed. We've been shadow banned today. It's fair. I know the numbers. I know what they look like. It's obvious. Immediately after we posted, I was like, I'm going to watch this. Yeah, nothing. I know. But here I am, Brian Hyatt, feminist women's sports activist. That's what it takes, I guess. David Collier says, thanks Staley possibly answered the way she did because she knew the backlash if she said what she really thought. Well, yeah, she's gutless or she's stupid, but I really don't think she's gutless. I think she probably adheres to that idea. Because what would be the backlash if she said, no, we don't want dudes playing women's college sports? She's John Wooden of women's college basketball right now. Not really. I mean, go 10 more years. She can say whatever she thinks. So if she's that intimidated, what does she think is going to happen? That great women's college basketball players aren't going to go to South Carolina because she said, no, I don't think a lot of dudes should play. No, I think she believes it. I think she's a true believer. I think she's that way. I have to take her at her word because I'm a gentleman. Because what would happen to her? What are they going to do? They can't touch her. She's a winner. And America loves a winner. Jared, and you can get your comments in thanks to United Supermarkets. All comments on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff. Get in. Tuesday's best. I still hadn't told crap. We're going green, white, checkered big time. All right, real quick. Get your comments in, thoughts in. The coolest thing I've ever seen in nature. About 1989, we are hiking at 11,000 feet in northern New Mexico, going to a lake, and we're in a really tight valley. This is late July, early August. And as we are hiking up, we get above timberline, and it'd been kind of cloudy and whatnot all day, and these clouds rolled into this valley as we were hiking, but they kept getting lower and lower. And as that happened, it created a thunderstorm where we were above the cloud level of the thunderstorm. We could see the lightning below us from the top of the cloud. The clouds are like 10,000 feet in this valley on the top. And it's crazy. I've never seen it before. I hadn't seen it since. So you're sitting there hiking and you're looking back down to your left in this valley, and you can see this thunderstorm with lightning, hail, everything going on below you. You're above it. There's no wind. It's weird. But you're watching below you and you're seeing all this, and you're seeing the lightning from the tops of the cloud going down into the valley. And you can hear the hail, you can see the hail falling, everything else. And we, that was another 20 or 30 minutes that we hiked above that as it kind of dissipated. It didn't last very long, but I mean, you guys have probably been in planes and stuff where you've been above clouds, you've seen light and everything. Now imagine walking that in that moment where it is a 500 feet, 1,000 feet below you. It was probably incredibly dangerous, and we're too stupid to think, well, we should do something. Well, what the hell are you going to do? You got to keep walking. You got to keep going. And you could see it. You could see the lightning across the top of the cloud and watch it go down. You could see the hell core come up. Hell, before hell falls, for those who don't know, the ice crystals go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. Finally, they become so heavy, they fall out of the cloud. You could see the cloud moving up and down. It was like an organic thing, a living thing that you were watching. And you kept walking because you're like, we're going to die before we ever catch any fish. We did catch a lot of fish on that trip, but that to me, the eclipse, anything else, to be in above a storm at that level was pretty cool. Coolest thing I've seen in nature. I had a monkey give me the finger at a Japanese zoo. None of that, by the way, people who are watching still, is a euphemism. That's an absolutely true story. He spent a lot of time in Japan and a lot of time at zoos. Him and the monkey, I assume, had met. All right, we're out of here. I busted the window. We went over time. Whatever you do, do not share our commentary today. Do not comment on it. Do not go to theraiderland.com and share 60 seconds of Raiderland. Please don't do that. Whatever you do. We'll see you on the website tomorrow. We're going to post this here in a second. You can share this, and I hope you do share this and, do what you got to do. Put it on Twitter, Facebook, your